department chair and program coordinator of exercise science and sport management. That's Dr. McAlexander, or as I call her, Dr. Mac. Um, this was a program that I was involved in and graduated with, so it's something that I hold really dear to my heart. So when I saw she was gonna engage in a virtual meeting, I definitely wanted to be on that one. But she has done a lot for the sport management and exercise science program, has taken kids on a lot of trips, experiential learning trips, engaged in conferences and stuff like that. So it's a really cool program, but I don't want to give it all away. So without further ado, Dr. Mack.
Thank you, Bree. As Bree said, I'm Dr. McAlexander. I'm an assistant professor of exercise science and sport management here at Schreiner and department chair of the Department of Exercise Science and Sport Management. And I am happy to be here. It's been nice to talk to students, prospective students over the years, because I just love this place so much, to be honest. Just to briefly tell you some of my personal history and what brought me to Schreiner and then eventually brought me back to Schreiner. I taught here back in 2013 and 2014 in this same department. And unfortunately, we as a family had to move because of my husband's job. I've taught at 6 other universities, or 6 including Schreiner here in Texas. And in 2017, I had the opportunity to come back to Schreiner. And that was when I was at University of Houston, and I decided this is the best place for me. So long story short, I love Schreiner. I'm happy to talk to you about the campus, the university, as well as our programs today as well. The Department of Exercise Science and Sport Management is now, outside of, or second to biology, the second largest majors in terms of declared majors department here at Schreiner. And that's in combination with exercise science and sport management. So we have doubled our enrollment in 5 years. We are one of the fastest growing fields in the nation, largely because so many of our students can do a variety of jobs. So let me tell you just briefly about our programs in our department. So we have the fitness and wellness track of exercise science. We have a pre-professional track of exercise science, and then we have our sport management degree in our department. So I'll start first with fitness and wellness for exercise science. And for these majors, most of them want to do more general, either recreation jobs, coaching. Some go into personal training. Some do eventually go on to athletic training or other graduate schools. This is more of a generic degree, but it does prepare you for a variety of fields in working with sport and exercise science. Our exercise science pre-professional track is mostly geared towards those going into graduate programs such as physical therapy, occupational therapy. We've had some go on to medical school. It served as a pre-med track for some, and also physician assistants. So that is mostly for those folks. And then last, we have our sport management degree or program. And as our infamous supporter and really the designer of this program says, Dr. Shaw, this is a business degree in sport. And that's the degree that Bree earned. And I would argue we have one of the best programs, especially for sport management in the country. We take students to the Final Four every year. This program especially was built for those wanting to work in any aspect of sport in the business side. So between exercise science and sport management, we are almost half and half in terms of a department, in terms of majors. Our sport management program is also growing exponentially. So I love our program. I think we are, of course, I'm biased, but I think we are one of the top in the nation for a variety of reasons. We have an exercise physiology lab. Given our size school and really the size of our department, this is rare. So we have equipment like a bod pod where we can measure body fat using air displacement. We can measure things like maximal oxygen consumption, VO2 max. Our equipment is some of the top in the nation, and we have it here at Schreiner. We use that equipment not only in classrooms, but to test for research projects. We help serve our local community, our staff and faculty with that. So our resources are plentiful, and that's something that I've always been very proud of. Our experiential learning trips, Bree, briefly mentioned that. I mentioned the Final Four trip. We take students every year to that. to not just go and attend, but actually work the Final Four in a variety of capacities. I've taken students to Brooke Army Medical Center this past year and visited the Center for the Intrepid. We've taken students to present, and Bree included, at the Texas chapter of the American College of Sport Medicine Conference. I take students there every year. We have had one of our own, Dr. Robinson, take students to a national applied sport management conference. So we make it a point, all of us, to prioritize those experiential learning activities and trips, not only in a class, but outside of a class. In our field, it is all about application. Books and preparation in terms of academic learning is essential, but experience that you gain outside the classroom, given the nature of our field, is also just as essential. So I want to definitely emphasize that is a major strength of ours in terms of our programs. I have not talked a whole bunch, but I wanted to make sure we had enough time to talk about or answer questions of those. And then I wanted to have us informally talk more given questions. Are there specific questions that I can answer right now? If you want to go ahead and unmute your mic, or you can even type in the chat, I'm happy to answer those. Oh, I can definitely keep talking. We good? A common question that I receive from potential students is, hey, what can I do with this major? Or what can I do with one of these? Oh, here we go. Colton's got one. Colton says, what is the difference between sports medicine and sports business? Great question. So sports medicine, we don't offer that specific degree, but sport business focuses essentially on the business side of sports. So things like marketing, things like facility design, things like promotion, where sports medicine is the science side of sport. So your orthopedic fields, your athletic trainers. If you are interested in sports medicine, you would want to major in exercise science and specifically the fitness and wellness track. If you wanted to go into the business of sport, which again, a lot of our students do, that would be the sport management. So Colton, I hope that answers your question. And this kind of creates a great segue for me to talk about potential careers. And Cole's got a question too. When do we start internships? You start internships mostly sophomore or junior year. We do have some that will wait until their senior year. I recommend doing that sooner rather than later. I always go back to one of my former students back in 2014. She was an exercise science pre-professional major because she wanted to become a physical therapist. And she said, this is what I want to do. But you know what? She had taken all of these upper level classes and really difficult science classes and decided, I don't want to be a physical therapist at all after doing this internship. So I try to push my advisees and our students to go and get an internship, one, at least your sophomore year, but if not, then your junior year. But we do have some that wait until their senior year. That is also a formal class that we require for 2 of our degrees, and it is a recommended elective for our other 3rd degree within our department. So as you can imagine, and like I said, experiential learning in the form of internships, externships, and any type of research presentations are always beneficial. Okay, here we go. So Colton had a great question too. Another one, what types of jobs are there for degrees in sport business? Many. We've got some that are working for the Astros, some for the Spurs. Bree can talk to some of her experience as well too. We have folks that work in not only sales, but facility design. And that means how you actually design a potential facility, or fundraising. For some, we've had students go work for the nonprofit side of sports entertainment, or excuse me, Spurs Sports and Entertainment, and talk about and then eventually learn how to fundraise. Some of our own students have done internships with those large organizations too. And Bree, can you talk about this for us, some of your experiences?
Yeah, so In regards to like the experiential learning trips, so like a little bit of both of internships and experiential learning trips. So for the experiential learning trips, I got to go to the Final Four when it was in San Antonio, as well as the Final Four when it was in Minnesota. So I went to both of those. They were really cool. A lot of the times going into it, like Dr. Max said, it's kind of like everybody's like, oh, we just get to go watch the games, but it's like it's not like that. You actually go and get to work behind the scenes. I remember my first year, I was outside on the concert half of the Final Four, and I was walking around with like one of the news anchors for Kins 5 and was getting to like watch them do that, which in a way is like another aspect of sports business. Like if you're going into broadcasting or like sports reporting or something like that. So I was able to engage in that, as well as for internships. Dr. Shaw was actually able to help me receive an internship with San Antonio Sports, which is a nonprofit organization in San Antonio. Basically, they put on events for all of San Antonio. So when San Antonio hosted the Final Four, they were like the main providers for like that, getting that ready. What else? They put on the internship that I had. I was in charge of keeping track of like their Zumba classes. So they would put Zumba. They would put on two different Zumba classes per week, Monday through Thursday, at different locations. And the locations were based on parts of San Antonio that were like high in obesity or like health problems. And they would put those Zumba classes on there to help basically engage and like get them active to help, lower weight. And it was really cool. They worked with like a local hospital, and they would come in and do like heart screenings, weigh-ins, stuff like that the for the participants, so they would know, like they would see their progress and see like how the Zumba classes were helping them. As well as we put on big events with that internship. We put on four different 5Ks and 10Ks around San Antonio that weren't just open for the participants, but for basically anybody that wanted to engage in it. And it was like really big. We'd have like hundreds of people come out. So, in a way, like I enjoyed my internship, but it's like how Dr. Max says, like if you start that internship early, you start to learn the stuff you're interested in. So like that was more of kind of, as I would say, like event management per se, like making sure things are on point and keeping stuff up to date. And doing that internship, I found out that that's not what I wanted to do. And I remember when it first happened in my head, I was like, wow, that was to me, I was like, that's a waste of an internship. But like talking to Dr. Mack and Dr. Shaw, they're like, it's not. Like that's what the internships are for, to teach you what you do want to go into and what you don't want to go into. And from that, like I learned that I want to go into sport marketing. Like I'm interested in promoting different sports and organizations and stuff like that. So I would definitely say like internships are really big, regardless of what major you go into. But I think especially for this one, because in sports, exercise science or sport management, like the time is so fast. Like it goes by so quick, everything you have to do. So I think it's really good to like get your feet wet and understand like what you actually like want to get yourself into versus not what you want to get yourself into.
Thanks, Bree. That's really helpful. And I want to speak to what she mentioned, not directly, but the cross-disciplinary approach that we take. So several of our sport management students will do work in exercise science or do an internship in exercise science or vice versa, because our disciplines are so cross-disciplinary. For example, Bree presented research at the Texas American College of Sports Medicine conference, and she was a sport management major. But because of the nature of what she was doing, it worked. So that's one advantage of being able to house different degrees in our department. So we have exercise science students who are minoring in sport communication, and that's one of our minors I didn't have a chance to talk about yet, but that opportunity is vast. So we've got students who will take sport management classes as exercise science students for their electives and vice versa, right? So sport management students want to learn more about exercise science. They'll take some of those as their electives. So that's very common and actually encouraged because of the similarities between our fields. I want to just briefly talk about the sport communication minor. This is only its second year in existence, and it's booming already. We're going to need new faculty to start teaching more of these classes more often, because what we're finding in the now technological age, right, is the way we communicate has changed dramatically, and even in sport. So some examples of our sport communication minor would be, social media communication in sports. So those are practicum classes where you would create a social media account or use different social media applications to create various accounts for a client or for a business or for somebody here at Schreiner. So that minor is, like our programs, definitely increased in popularity. Okay, any other questions that I can answer? Bree, thanks again for jumping in there. That's really helpful.
Yeah, of course.
I know there's got to be more questions. Don't be shy. That's the benefit of being able to chat and just type in your question. Well, let me tell you about our amazing students and what they've gone on and done. So we've had several of our students in the past 5 years go on to graduate schools like physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician assistants. I mentioned the medical school student too. And several of our students who have majored in exercise science and fitness and wellness have gone on to maybe more what we used to see non-traditional jobs like wellness consulting, which is becoming increasingly popular. As corporate America prioritizes the wellness of their employees, they need to hire either through another business or internally wellness experts. So corporate wellness or worksite wellness is becoming increasingly popular. We've had one of our students, eventually she became a consultant, a wellness consultant for Southwest Airlines. We've had several of our students go and teach and coach, and that was always a dream and passion of theirs. And they eventually went and did that. Some earned their teaching certification at Schreiner, which you can do in conjunction with an exercise science or sport management degree. Sometimes it takes longer, but that can be done. Others have gone on and coached and eventually ran club organizations, or coached for and ran club organizations like club sports. Others have taken more of a business approach and have either majored in sport management and some in exercise science and have been recreational directors. And that can be for nonprofits like the YMCA or the Salvation Army Kroc Center. But the variety of careers is only becoming more and more. It's amazing. Back thinking to where I started and how much the field has changed, because as a nation, we're now seeing the importance of not only health and wellness, but sport as a business. It's definitely something to focus on. And going back to the benefits of our programs, I think because we are at a school like Schreiner, and this speaks to one of Schreiner's many strengths, we're able to do so much cross-disciplinary work and have the internal support to do that. So because most of us know each other, we always say here at Schreiner, you can't hide. We will find out, if you're not coming to class, we'll find out. We'll talk to a coach. We'll talk to somebody, that is also teaching you. You can't really hide. And that not only strengthens your experience as a student at Schreiner, but especially in our field, because we are an in-person type field. You talk to most of us, and we prefer our classes in person because we want to get to know you. We want to demonstrate an exercise. We want to talk about a facility and show you floor plans rather than online delivery. Although that can happen, we are a people person type field, and we, especially here at Schreiner in exercise science, definitely value that. Any other questions about Schreiner as a whole? I know you probably know a lot already. Anything else that I can answer for you? No? I will, if you're done, I will just leave you with this. I mentioned that I had taught at 6 different universities in Texas, and there's a reason I'm back at Schreiner, and I mentioned some of the strengths of our department, but I will tell you, in terms of the university, I've never been at a school and taught for a school that cared so deeply about their students. And I can honestly say that Here at Schreiner, we do value academics, but we value you as a person, and you are not just a number. And no matter what, you are supported. If it's not by a faculty member, it's a staff member, or it's a friend, and we honestly care. So with that, if you don't have any further questions, I'll hand it over to Bree.
Yeah, so I was just gonna, I don't think anybody has any other questions, and if you do, you can chat and you can type a chat like y'all have been doing, or unmute yourselves and ask. I was just gonna go ahead and ask another question, that could also give more insight to the students. Would be, could you talk about like the class size for sport management? Like, since we are a growing department, we are still a small school with those small class sizes. So could you talk about like the class sizes?
Sure. So we are growing. I will tell you that from when I started to now, our average class size has definitely increased, but we will not have any class larger than 30 students, and that is a minority. What we're finding now is, because our enrollment in our department has grown so much, is that we're now going to start offering multiple sections and or a class more often. Our goal is to really keep a class size close to 20 max, but if there is a class that, for example, research applications, we have our exercise science and sport management students have to take that. Sometimes we will offer that every semester, or in the past we've had to offer even multiple sections of that depending on the year. So we make that a priority in our class offerings because we want to make sure that you get that faculty instruction. Again, I go back to, you're not just a number. And if you are overwhelmed with a bunch of students from a pedagogy side, right, you can't necessarily give them that individual attention. So 30 max, and that is a rare case, most of the time between 20 and 25.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so with that, I was just gonna say, all Colton and Cole and I think Jericho is still on here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it's really cool that y'all are all excited in this major about this major, either exercise science or sport management. Again, kind of like with Dr. Mack, I am biased. It was something that I really held close to my heart, playing sports, and I can probably guess that like a lot of y'all are in the same boat where you kind of want to hang on to that sport aspect a little bit longer, even when playing is out of the ordinary. And that's kind of like what happened with me. Basketball got taken away from me at a really kind of after my freshman year due to an injury, so I just really wanted to engage in sport in another way. And it's really like how Dr. Max said, like sometimes you go in thinking one thing. Like I came in freshman year thinking I wanted to do physical therapy. I had done an internship my senior year of high school, was for sure set that that's what I wanted to do. And I came into college and took Cal 1 and was like, this is not for me. Like, I can't do this. I got to switch. And then like that's the thing, is like since we're so close and it's so they're like the majors are so close to each other, it was such an easy transition because the stuff you're doing in exercise science, you're already kind of having to take those classes in sport management. I took what are the courses?
Oh,
Like,
anatomy and physiology.
yeah, anatomy and physiology, like strength training and stuff like that. So I was able to actually get like that information from exercise science that I thought I wouldn't need in sport management, but with the teachers telling you, it crosses, because if you want to be a coach, like yes, you can major in sport management, but you still need that exercise science or fitness and wellness. So it's really a good program where things can just cross. Cole said, is there anything to be said for sport journalism in this program?
Yes, absolutely. So that was one of the reasons we created this sport communication minor. Journalism is not just the newspaper anymore, right? So there are all different types of medium that we've got to consider when communicating with sports. So yes, we have folks that are interested in sport journalism, and they will often major in sport management and minor in sport communication, which only increases their career opportunities once they graduate.
Yeah. And I would also say that with sport management, I've talked to other students that take sport management elsewhere, and I would say our sport management degree is very diverse. We hit a bunch of topics sport law facilities, like Dr. Mack said. What else? I'm trying to think. As well as like those exercise science classes that I was talking about. A lot of other universities sometimes will stay specified on like one specific thing in sport management, but it's so well diverse here at Schreiner that like you get a little bit of everything. And it's not just like stuff that's applied to sport, like it's stuff that can get applied in like everyday type things. Like sport marketing is a lot like regular marketing, it's just in that sport aspect. People have, as Dr. Shaw would always say, people have a really close heart for sports, so marketing towards that is a little bit easier because people hold sport kind of close to them. It's basically the same thing, just adding sport to it. So I feel like if y'all are excited about it, I would definitely push that sophomore year to sign your degree plan with that. But more questions.
Yeah. So, Jericho, I'm curious if the program works closely with any of the schools, sports teams, or clubs in regards to either exercise or management, as well as if the program works with sports psychology at all. Yes, absolutely. So, we have as our head student athletic trainer, Sydney Williams. She is exercise science pre-professional major, and she's getting hands-on experience as well as another exercise science student with our athletic training department here at Schreiner. So that happens often. We will conduct health and fitness assessments for our student athletes as part of a class. Same thing with sport management. We have practicums as part of our sport management degree that are required. So you work with our recreation department and help plan and implement intramurals. Same thing with facility design. So a lot of these experiential learning activities happen in-house because if we can benefit or we can help our own, that's always an advantage. That being said, you have more opportunities for mentorship that way too, right? So if you are interested in recreation direction, if you want to work in that field, you can work with our director of the Mountaineer Fitness Center for not only a practicum, but a possible internship. So yes, the answer, Jericho, is absolutely. It happens quite often in multiple sports. We had a former graduate, he has been gone, I think, 3 years. Isaac was a strength and conditioning coach informally for some of our athletes. So yes, it's a great match there. In terms of your sports psychology question, that is one of the many reasons we as a department have joined a division of human performance and behavior. So as part of the human performance and behavior division, there's exercise science and sport management, communication, and psychology. And so we are in the works or talking about a sports psychology minor because the interest has only increased. So we do have that capability, and we have several of our students who will take not only the required psychology classes that are in our degrees, but additional psychology classes, because we know in terms of sport, the mental game is key. So yes, we are in the works. We're working on that right now, and we have a great, strong psychology department. They are also big in numbers, and that's, again, part of our human performance and behavior division here at Schreiner. And it looks like Colton said same thing. Okay, where does that fall on? Yes. I am hoping we can get that. We're talking about it. Our goal is in the next 2 years to get that sports psychology minor developed. But regardless, you are more than welcome to take psychology classes as part of your electives. And that's one of the benefits of having electives as part of a degree. You get to choose what classes you'd like to take. And welcome, Catherine. Good questions. Anything else about any of these? These are really good.
Any other questions maybe for Catherine that came into the chat?
No?
Okay, well, I am actually going to head and Dr. Mack, if you want to do that too, I'm going to go ahead and actually type in the admissions email. So if y'all have questions, y'all can email that, and then it'll get sent directly to your counselor of your market area. as well as Dr. Mack will most likely put her email
There's
address. That way, if you have any other questions about sport management, exercise science, sport communication, she can answer those questions for you, as well as most likely if you do end up majoring in this, her, Dr. Shaw, or Dr. Robinson will most likely be your advisor. So you'll be seeing a lot of them.
awesome. Thank you so much, Bree.
Yeah, of course. But, yeah. But if there are no other questions, I just wanted to thank y'all for, joining this meeting and getting to learn about this specific major, and we're excited to see y'all in the fall. And again, if you have any questions, just go ahead to reach out to admissions or Dr. McAlexander, and we'll be happy to answer any questions y'all have.